Officially announced at the beginning of the month, BMW has released its fifth iteration of the R18 cruiser, the Roctane. By no means is it an overhaul from the original, but subtle changes and additions give this R18 an entirely different presence. From a hardware standpoint, the Roctane is fitted with a 21/18-inch wheel combo, 27-liter color-matched locking side cases, mid-rise bars, a new headlight with a nicely integrated instrument cluster that harkens back to the 1936 R5's design, and it has received the blacked-out treatment from tip to tail. As said before, much remains the same with this R18 variant, like everything aside from what was just mentioned. The Roctane features the monstrous 1802cc air, oil-cooled engine front and center, the biggest BMW has ever made, which looks even more substantial thanks to its boxer configuration, which places each of its 901cc cylinders jutting out on either side. Engine performance is still acclaimed 91 horsepower and 116 pound-feet of torque. Likewise, the transmission remains unchanged, offering the same positive clunks we've come to expect from cruisers when shifting gears. The chassis is also carried over from the AUG that Brasscannons tested in September of 2020. I'd argue that the unfortunately named Roctane delivers more of an American cruiser presence than any of the R18s before it. The larger wheel sizes were chosen to change the stance of the motorcycle, and it really seems to have done the trick. The paint and use of both matte and gloss finishes throughout are done tastefully, and the integration of any unsightly hoses, wires or cables is commendable, giving the Roctane an elegant and mature look that its name betrays. It's hard to fault 100 years of tradition, but the big boxer has some inherent difficulties, as one BMW representative put it, in a cruiser configuration. Simply put, it's hard to work around those massive jugs. The decision to use small floorboards versus standard footpegs makes angling your foot under the shifter nearly impossible. Therefore, you're stuck using the heel-toe shifter whether you like it or not. On the right side, I couldn't get my foot on the rear brake pedal without the top of my boot grazing the cylinder. That said, having those big OL cylinders out in the wind seems to be a pretty efficient way of keeping them cool, too. It may not have changed from the other R18s, but the motor offers pretty substantial getup that's worth noting and expected with all that torque. Throttle response is crisp and fuel metering as precise as the big boxer spools up from the depths of its rev range near 1,000 revolutions per minute, shuddering its way to smoothness at 2,000. Once you near an indicated 3K on the small digital display at the bottom of the analog speedo, vibes start at the floorboards and make their way to the grips. Although redline is 5,750, I can't imagine needing or wanting to rev the motor out that far. I'm not sure I ever saw 4,000 revolutions per minute during normal riding. The engine is spinning at 2,700 revolutions per minute when rolling down the road at 75 miles per hour. When you decide to wick up the pace, you'll need confidence in know that you shed that speed too. The Roctane's linked brakes get the big girl slowed down confidently, which is a monumental task once you get all 825 pounds of this Bavarian locomotive chugging along. I actually preferred the linked brake setup here, since accessing the rear brake pedal was more hassle than it was worth, and the system did a great job of keeping things even keel. When the BMW's starting to deliver vibration at both the floorboards and grips at 3,000 revolutions per minute, engine performance seems to be fairly close, but without riding them truly back to back it's hard to tell. My thought after being off of the BMW for about a week and a half is that the Harley delivers more immediate power from low in the RPM range, whereas the BMW needs to be spooled up to around 2,500 before it starts pulling hard. In terms of handling, the Road King feels nimble by comparison. This can of course be chalked up to a number of things like its smaller front wheel, 3.7-inch shorter wheelbase, 26-degree wheelbase and 6.9 inches of trail.